Check, check.
All right. Hello, everyone. Look, I'm back. So it's been a very long winter in Minnesota for some reasons that you have probably heard at in the news. Federal occupation. I also work as a state representative. I think most people know that. And our time of meeting is January through May generally each year. So when I restarted this channel in August or whatever last year, July, it was off season. So this is my first in season where I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to get, I'll have to pull back maybe like one video every couple of weeks. And then the occupation happened in Minnesota and obviously didn't have time and wasn't thinking about BookTube at all. And then it just has fallen off till now. It is spring break. As I record this, we have a week off, and I was like, I should at least catch people up on what I have been reading and try to get a BookTube video out. So here is this kind of like a wrap up of the entire quarter for reading, and maybe I'll do like a TBR, just kind of like generally looking out into the future. Now, I do want to say this is going to be an embarrassingly small wrap up for 3 months, but I have brought some props to give excuses to myself. So my job is a lot of reading and not reading that is very exciting or that I can report on Goodreads. For example, the 2026 Minnesota Tax Incentive Study, which is this thick document. And I know you all are thinking, wow, I wish that I could read all of this. Well, you can if you'd like. There's a lot of great charts about decile populations, just great stuff. I read stuff like this most of the day. The Tax Incident Study, right here. More reading. Every time I go to committee, which is 2 to 3 times a day, I get a stack of paperwork like this that I read through. These are just excuses. Everyone has jobs and they're reading at their jobs. I understand that. I'm a little embarrassed, guys. I have not read as much as I wanted, but what can I do? Again, if you want to make fun of me, first you have to read the entirety of the 2026 Minnesota Tax Incentive Study, and then you can make fun of me. All right. Let's get to what I read starting in January. I started out my reading year with The Heart of What Was Lost by Tad Williams. A lot of the books that I'm reading so far this year has been Tad Williams books. This is the sort of prequel, I guess, to the second large Tad Williams Austen Ard trilogy called The Last King of Austen Ard. The Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, which he wrote in the 90s, is the first trilogy that I read a couple years ago. This was just a great prequel in that it introduces you into the world, sort of reintroduces the Norns, or the Scythi, which are pretty key parts of the world, and kind of reminds you of what's happening, and still is a very good book. So I really enjoyed this, and glad I read it. I did a live show. I'm reading Last King of Austen with 3 other book tutors, Nikhil, Philip Chase, and Ben Benghis Khan. We had a great discussion, is somewhere on the internet. I may or may not put it on this video, but we are talking through each one as we go. So feel free to catch up with us and watch those videos. Once you've read Last King of Austen, it's been great so far. I also have been reading the Chronicles of Narnia, rereading the Chronicles of Narnia with Rid over at Ridbook. So I'm just gonna do these all here. So I've read The Horse and His Boy, Silver Chair, Magician's Nephew, and I'm about to finish Last Battle, which is the last one in the series. I think I might do a ranking of them, because I just think it's a fascinating book series that has some really, really high highs, really low lows. I don't like The Last Battle, but like The Magician's Nephew has some incredibly fun imagery. I really like Silver Chair. I don't know, I just really still like it, even kind of putting some more distance from my more conservative theological outlook that I had the first time that I read these books. You guys also know that I've been reading a lot of presidential biographies, so I'm just gonna read these out because I know most people are not super interested in them. I read Mr. Jefferson's Hammer by Robert Owens. That's a biography of William Henry Harrison, who died very swiftly once he was in office. And then President Without a Party by Christopher Leahy, which actually was quite good, about John Tyler, someone that I didn't know much about at all. I read Polk, The Man Who Transformed the Presidency in America by Walter Bornemann, which is also quite a good biography of a lesser-known president. And I'm currently reading Eisenhower's book on Zachary Taylor, which is quite good as well. So I've enjoyed a lot of those presidential biographies. I'm trying to read one of every president, almost getting up to Civil War now. So the main bulk of my reading has been these big, thick Last King of Austen Ard books. So I finished the first one, The Witchwood Crown by Tad Williams. This takes place, I think, about 30 years after the last book in the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy, which is To Green Angel Tower. This is a very, very impressive reintroduction to the world. I'd been hesitant to get back into this because I read Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, I'm not going to remember the details. It might be tough to jump back into one of these secondary series. I'm also like, because of the Sanderson world, I'm sort of like bigger worlds. I'm not necessarily wanting just like an expansion of the same world or all these interconnected things. Like I kind of want something new. But you know what? Like I said, I had 3 BookTube friends that were doing this. I had the book and I was like, let's do it. And I'm so glad I did. This is a very, very unique take on this. Easy to get back into it. Williams is such a great classic fantasy author. If you don't know, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn is often sort of credited as one of the main inspirations for George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones. And there you can definitely feel sort of a reverse now influence where Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn is written, then Game of Thrones is written, and then this is written after Game of Thrones. And so there's kind of some reverse inspiration, which is fun to see. I would also say so far, I think this is right. I do like this series, I think, better than Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. And one of the main things, if you look at the live show when we talked about this, I was concerned about was what happened in Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn is like, there was just like this root system, so to speak, of the narrative that just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And it got to a point, kind of like Wheel of Time does, where there was too many stories, where there was too long between the stuff you were most interested in and you were hitting all these other like smaller things that weren't as interesting. And I was concerned reading this book that was going to start to happen, because it did start kind of like going out. But I will say the second book, which is also a ton of my reading, Empire of Grass, which is the second book in this series, has really done the opposite. A couple of these sort of root systems have combined and it's focused the narrative. And now there's like this real weight to all these stories, because I had some backstory of other things before they all came together. So I've been really impressed with this so far. So Empire of Grass is the second one that, as you can see, I'm currently about halfway through. Really like this. So right now I'm really enjoying Last King of Ostenard. All keep taking place in live shows as we do them. The other major series that I have gotten through is the Edan trilogy by my friend Philip Chase, who actually I am reading these books to. I read Prophet of Edan, which is the second one, and then the first one, I always get them mixed up in my head. What's the first one called? The Way of Edan? Yes, okay, so it's The Way of Edan, Prophet of Edan, and then Return of Edan. So I greatly enjoyed reading this, not for no reason because I know Philip Chase and I really enjoy him as a human, and this series really has a lot of him in it. And the second one, especially Prophet of Edan, so I read the first one on ebook, and then the second one I listened to the audiobook, which is narrated by Alan Walker. So it was this crazy surreal experience where I was reading a book by a friend that was read out loud by a friend, and both were doing a great job. I imagine this is what parents feel like when like their kids are actually good at sports. I don't know how many kids, but like, oh wow, they're actually good. This is great. It's a person I love and they're good at sports. I don't know. That's like what I felt reading this. I was like, oh man, Alan's really good at narrating. Philip, this is a good story. So I enjoyed all these. Glad that they were made available. Philip actually gifted me the audiobook, which I am so grateful for, so I could have that experience, and Alan does do a wonderful job. As far as the series as a whole, I think it's good, not potentially great. One thing that I actually was a little sad about in the latter books was I just loved the Day-Raven storyline. Like Day-Raven, without getting into spoilers, like is my favorite part of these books. And I thought, especially in the second book, Prophet of Edan, he got not lost, but like less screen time than some other book time, whatever, than some other aspects of the world and sort of the building tension that I was just less interested in. I kind of found myself sometimes being like, let's get back to Day-Raven. And then, yeah, I don't think I can say more without spoiling stuff. But that was my biggest critique, was that I wanted more Day-Raven, but that was a really, really great experience. So as far as TBR, what I'm going to read for the next couple of months, I'm going to continue to read Last King of Ostenard, and then if I have time, I want to jump back into Red Rising. I read the first 3 Red Rising books, but I haven't read Dark Age. Is that the next one? Yeah, Dark Age. I also found Guards at a used book sale, and this is kind of one of the Discworlds that I've been wanting to jump back into it. Discworld's been hit or miss for me, but a lot of people say that the Guards sort of like, I don't know, timeline, storyline is one of their favorites, especially for like fantasy fans. So I might jump into those again. as sort of a palate cleanser. Of course, I am going to continue to be reading presidential biographies. The next couple, like the Fillmore and Pierce biographies, are all shorter ones, but I am going to be reading this chunker, Team of Rivals, for Abraham Lincoln. And I have not read this. This won the Pulitzer Prize. It's supposed to be obviously incredible, but it's going to take some time. It's a big, big, big book, but I love big, big historical books, so not sad about it. Literally shook the camera. All right. That is my reading for the last couple of months. Please let me know what you have been reading. If you have thoughts, Last King of Austin on the Adan trilogy. If you want more videos of me in the Minnesota House of Representatives, I kind of played around with like just posting some speeches on this and being like, listen guys, this is what I'm doing. I'm sorry I'm not reading, but that felt complainy. Anyway, it's so great to be on BookTube again. Hopefully I'll be on soon and keep you guys updated on what I've been reading. As always, first in, last out.